Looking for some digital magic to help you through your week? The Kingdom Report is here for you, covering the latest Disneyland and Disney World news, experiences, and events. Be sure to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Kingdom Report Live so you never miss an update. And drop a subscribe on the Kingdom Report YouTube channel for new videos every week. Don't miss out. Join this growing community of theme park fans as we aim to connect you to more of what makes you happy. For more information, visit KingdomReportLive.com. And now, back to the magic.
Disney News Talk Live. Hey everybody, it's Wade for the Kingdom Report, back with you one more time, covering all the latest Disney Parks news, stories, headlines from coast to coast and around the world. We are definitely in for a wonderful broadcast today. As always, we like to thank you for being a part of this very show. This is where you get to sound off your opinions, your Disney Parks experiences, what's going on in your life when it comes to your Disney visit. That is what we want to hear about today. Before we get too far into things, though, I always like to make sure that we make a point to reward you for being a part of the live broadcast. All you have to do is leave a comment underneath this very video on our YouTube channel. So it has to be on the YouTube channel underneath this video. As soon as the video is posted following the live broadcast, you're able to leave comments underneath the video. All you have to do is leave the phrase that pays in order to win yourself your very own Kingdom Report mug this week. And what is the phrase that pays? Well, so I shall show you, if you will. The phrase that pays this week is none other than, and let's wait for the prompt. Here it comes. Can you sense it? I know I can. Ladies and gentlemen, Christmas cheer. Christmas cheer is the phrase that pays this week. That's all you have to leave underneath this very video. You have until Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. That's Monday the 6th. So this live show happens on the 4th. You have until Monday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time, to leave that comment, Christmas cheer, underneath this very video. As long as you do that, we will reach out to you if you are the winner. You'll be randomly selected, and you'll get your very own Kingdom Report mug. It is something that many people covet, many people long for, yearn for, if you will. It is something that a lot of folks have already won, and you too can have your very own Kingdom Report mug. So Christmas cheer, the phrase that pays, in the comment section beneath this video after the live video posts between now, Monday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific time. You may just be chosen to win yourself your very own Kingdom Report mug. Not what we want. Before we get out of here, in terms of getting you your very own mug, I also want to make sure that you understand exactly what we got going on here today. All kinds of stories, all kinds of topics to touch on. So not just the Bob Chapek madness. Yes, there always seems to be a new Bob Chapek story, doesn't there? There always seems to be something else going on with that man. Not just Bob Chapek madness in that he is not being named the chairman of Disney. No, he'll be the CEO. But the company has decided to go a completely different direction when it comes to who the chairman of the board will be after Bob Iger leaves. Very interesting story indeed. We'll be getting to that. Also, here in just a little bit, we're going to be covering for you other big news stories from Disney Parks from coast to coast. Disneyland tickets sold out for the remainder of 2021. Are you as shocked as I am? Because that is there always seems to be at least one story that shocks me every time we come to you with Disney News Talk Live. This happens to be one of those. So I am a bit surprised that it is sold out, not just for ticket holders, but also for pass holders for the remainder of 2021. So we're going to be diving into that here in just a bit as well. Also, if you hadn't heard, over at Disneyland, It's a Small World, we did cover this a couple weeks ago, was set to debut for its seasonal run as It's a Small World holiday with the rest of the Christmas season back in early November. Unfortunately, that didn't happen. A massive flood sort of fried things and created a lot of problems for the organization. And now we have the story, the full story as to what happened and how they are getting ready to launch It's a Small World holiday this coming week. So that is fantastic news. And if you hadn't heard on top of that, there's also been a big shuffling, not just at the top when it comes to the chairman and the CEO position at Disney. No, there's more. Walt Disney Imagineering's Bob Weiss, the head of Imagineering, he's stepping down to more of a consultant role, and a new person has been named president. They've only been with the company since 2020. Yeah. Can't wait to talk about that story. And in addition to that, we have some wonderful news, and that is that the Walt Disney World Resort is bringing trams back this month to Magic Kingdom Park. Yippee, hippie, hooray. Very much looking forward to talking about all of those stories here today. But before we get to all of that, ladies and gentlemen, we do have a guest here today with us. It's rare that we have guests on this show. However, this person happens to be a part of the Kingdom Report. They are, in fact, our Walt Disney World reporter, Gared Hassel. He's standing by for us now. Gared, happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you, Wade, and happy holidays to all our fantastic, viewers, listeners, whoever is out there listening to us. Happy holidays to you. Hope you guys are having a fantastic one. It is Christmas galore up in my house. We got a Disney tree. We got other kinds of trees. So I am ready for the holiday season. But it doesn't look like everyone's going to get the chance to go to the parks. But know what? The holidays are here, and it's a normal holiday this year, hopefully. So I'm just happy to be with you and talk to all these wonderful people.
Things are, we'll call this as much normal as can be. I think it's definitely, obviously far more normal than last year, the Christmas that was stolen from all of us, basically. And having just gotten back from Walt Disney World myself and been able to see a lot of what the holidays have to offer out there has been eye-opening, illuminating, if you will. Things really do feel back to normal from coast to coast now. Now having been able to see both Disneyland and Disney World sort of launch off with all of their holiday offerings, it really does feel like, okay, outside of, the distanced Santa meet and greets and stuff like that, that's still in place. And of course, some masking indoors, things do feel relatively normal again. So it's nice to at least have that sense of normalcy with us for the holiday season.
Oh, absolutely. The one thing I do, of course, miss is Mickey's Very Merry Christmas Party. That was so much fun to go to in the past, and it's a shame that they have the part-time one or the temporary one out right now. Because when I went to the Very Merry Christmas Party, I ate like 18 cookies and 20 glasses of hot chocolate, and I was wired. And
attaboy.
And then you see what they have nowadays, and you're just like, well, I don't even get more bang for my buck. But hey, as long as there are holiday decorations up at Disneyland and Disney World, then that means things are somewhat normal. And my favorite thing, Barn Santa in the Norway Pavilion at Epcot, he's there, so that means the holidays can actually happen. If he's not there, holidays canceled. That's my personal opinion. He's
mischievous, he's fun, and he makes funny sounds, doesn't he?
Mm-hmm. He does. He has a magical staff that somehow turns people around, and he can talk, and people don't even know he's there. It's like he's magic.
It is like he's magic. And for those of you that don't know what we're talking about, earlier this week, you can see for yourself on the Kingdom Report YouTube channel a video of the Barn Santa in Norway. The storytellers are back for the Epcot Festival of the Holidays once again, and we shared that with our viewers this week. So for those of you that haven't had an opportunity to see it, the Barn Santa is now posted for you, as well as the Hanukkah traditions, which was a fascinating presentation and a very fun, very lively, very upbeat presentation between France and Morocco is where they celebrate Hanukkah. So keep that in mind. Geographically, that's where the epicenter of Hanukkah exists at World Showcase. But this leads right into, I should say, the question I have for everybody right off the bat here today, and that is, what is your favorite thing Disney parks offer during the holiday season? Whether it's Disneyland, Walt Disney World, what do you enjoy the most about the holiday season at Disneyland? Disney World, they definitely are both having Christmas parties for the first time this year. Disneyland never having done that before, now officially in that business. But is it the decorations? Are you somebody that's really into, grabbing yourself a gingerbread man and some cocoa and sitting on Main Street, USA? Is it Mickey's Happy Holidays at California Adventure? Are you somebody that's a diehard when it comes to the puppetry that happens out at Disney's Animal Kingdom? Would love to know what your favorite thing is when it comes to Disney parks offering a little something up during the holiday season. And we will definitely highlight your thoughts, your opinions. That is what this broadcast is all about. As I mentioned a little bit earlier, this show is very much driven by you. So all of your comments, all of your thoughts that you express in our comment section, whether you're watching on Facebook Live or YouTube, we definitely want to present your thoughts, elevate your opinions when it comes to this type of show. And Gared, I was out at Magic Kingdom just a couple days ago, and I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see it yet, but the Christmas tree lighting in Town Square at Magic Kingdom is something that they do daily, right?
Yes.
It's so it's interesting. I was all pumped because they made the announcement saying, ladies and gentlemen, turn your direction to Town Square. And, they do this at Disneyland, too. They do this at Disneyland, California Adventures Tree on Buena Vista Street.
Absolutely.
And I don't know if you've had an opportunity to see it this year, have you?
Not yet, but I definitely will be before the holiday season is over.
Well, I'll share it with everybody.
Okay.
This is what I saw. This is what I experienced at Magic Kingdom this week when it came to the ceremonial lighting of the Magic Kingdom Christmas tree on Main Street, USA. Let's take a look.
3. Everyone please say Happy Holidays. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Happy Holidays. And a very merry evening to one and all.
Wow, that's all I can say. Nothing quite says a lighting of a Christmas tree quite like doing it in the mid-Florida afternoon sun when the sun is directly hitting the tree. Like, man, I have pretty good eyesight, Wade, but man, you have to be really close to that tree to even see. I didn't see anything from your recording, and you use a good camera. And in addition to that, where they're like, everyone say Happy Holidays, and it's just like crickets. It's just like,
yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, it was more like Christmas is fading away rather than a tree lighting ceremony, because I'm used to it. Folks, I don't know if you remember it, but in the past, Hollywood studios used to have the Osborne family dancing Christmas dancing lights, and that the turning on of it was epic because Santa Goofy would come out and flip a switch, and it literally boom, lights everywhere, and it would happen in the late afternoon. What just happened to Magic Kingdom made it seem like Disney's just like, listen, we got to do it. We don't really have a good time. 3 p.m. That sounds great. We don't have anything going on, so let's do it then. But man, oh man, step it up, Magic Kingdom. You're supposed to be the icon of
the park, right?
Yeah, and it's just like, wow. It was literally jaw dropping in a negative fashion.
It was so funny. I was standing next to this mom, and she was there just as pumped as I was, and she had her phone out, I had my camera out, and we were both looking at it through our viewfinder. And when they yelled out the Happy Holidays, we both, like, simultaneously, we both looked up from our viewfinders because we didn't see anything happen on our viewfinders, and so we both had to look up to see it for ourselves. And we stood there kind of dumbfounded, and then we looked at each other, and we both died laughing because we recognized just kind of how silly and ridiculous it was. And she goes, she's like, the sun isn't even down. She goes, it cuts off the top half of the tree. She's like, you can't even tell that the lights are on. And she goes, and there was no wow afterwards either. She was like, usually when Disney does something like that ceremonially, there's usually a big whoa at the end. And she goes, everybody just kind of turned around and walked away. Oh
yeah. I've seen. I'll do the opposite where when Illuminations used to be around and they would blow out the candles, people would even be like, oh, like, and so to turn lights on, usually turning lights on are more spectacular. And even when you had the Main Street Electrical Parade and all the lights would go down, people would still make a sound. So for there not to be a sound at all, Disney, you got to use LED. They're a lot light. They're brighter. They use less energy. Use LED. I don't know if they're using old stuff, but man, oh man, what a sort of disappointing like display. And it's not like it's the first day. Like they've been having this for a few weeks now. So
right.
Maybe they should push it back to 6 p.m. Like maybe they don't understand daylight savings, but my goodness, it's a little. Yeah, it's a little
down. Yeah, I told her, I was like, well, at Disneyland they wait until it's at least dark. Yeah, I mean, they wait until you can see it. It's a great moment for everybody. But anyway, so we asked all of you when it comes to Disney parks from coast to coast, what are some of your favorite holiday things that they offer up? Lori Jean chimes in saying, Small World Holiday at Disneyland. Yes, Lori Jean.
Actually running.
Yeah, right. Yeah, that's the big precursor there. It must be running in order to enjoy it, and we've got good news on that front we'll be covering today. Richard says the decorations. You know what, Richard? Absolutely. And I'll also share with everybody that at Magic Kingdom, clearly they're celebrating the 50th anniversary right now at Walt Disney World, and Magic Kingdom is into the swing of the holidays, but also trying to balance the 50th. And I have to tell you, they were doing more for Christmas, more for the holidays at Disney Springs in terms of entertainment, decor, and the feeling of Christmas than anything they were doing at Magic Kingdom. And it like paled in comparison.
Yeah, Disney Springs has always been a focal point of where celebrations going on have, especially the holidays. Disney Springs is actually where you want to go, whether it's the Christmas trees that are scattered about, the decorations, even the holiday music, the energy over there, even having the performers walking around, whether that is, you have toy soldiers walking around on stilts, or you have elves running around, or you have people skating. Disney Springs knows how to do decorations, but for Magic Kingdom to not, throw it out wild and go big, it's just a little shocking. The 50th is big, but I feel like the holidays, especially after the turbulent year we've had, this is the time where you're supposed to celebrate and really go big with it. But maybe after 18 months and the 50th being over, we'll get more holiday magic or something.
Yeah, hopefully after the 50th subsides, Magic Kingdom will be back a little bit, I guess, maybe to the old ways of celebrating the holidays. Ralph says the characters dress in their Christmas attire. Yes. Mm-hmm. You know what? I got to say, too, not to lean into my West Coast bias or anything like that, but the new attire for the Mickey and the gang, the Mickey and the Fab Five out at Disneyland this year, very nice. No longer are they wearing the Gap inspired attire, as I like to call it. In fact, they are wearing a whole new sort of lineup of attire, not just the Fab Five even. I think it even extends out to a couple of other characters like Clarabelle, for example, but a very trendy look on all of them. So, Ralph, thank you for that. And I know that KJ, is chiming in also saying, love to visit the Grand Californian with all of its decorations. Absolutely. And Mousepiration says, the huge gingerbread houses are always stunning to see. They bake for 6 months and construct in a week. They should hire the bakers to finish Tron.
I like that idea.
That's great.
Just build Tron out of gingerbread. It'll smell good. It may not be futuristic, but man, it will be delicious. But yeah, those gingerbread houses are just amazing. And when you get one that moves, such as Beach Club that has a moving carousel all made out of gingerbread, that is just a feat of culinary and mechanical genius.
Amen. Yes, and it might not be that bad of an idea to get Tron finished. I think that's very smart. Dirk asks, are they still planning to do Main Street Electric Parade at Disneyland? Dirk, they are. They just haven't laid out a specific timeline yet, just that it's coming next year. They confirmed that at the Destination D23 event here a few weeks back. So it's coming. We are just waiting for the official timeline. So very much looking forward to that joining the lineup of entertainment out at Disneyland. But let's dive into the stories for today. First up is something that I think everybody might find interesting, and that is that our friend Bob Chapek, Disney CEO, will not be named chairman after all. This is fascinating. And from micechat.com comes the following. Dusty Sage writes, in a surprising twist this week, Susan E. Arnold was elected chairman of the board effective December 31st, 2021. She will replace Bob Iger, who had continued to serve in the role even after stepping down as CEO. He will leave the company entirely at the end of the year. However, it had been expected that Bob Chapek would be named chairman of the board, a perceived vote of no confidence in Disney's current CEO. In recent weeks, Disney's stock price has plunged as investors grow concerned by a lack of content, disappointing Disney Plus numbers, and growing negativity on social media about the company. Miss Arnold is a 14-year member of Disney's board, and Bob Iger said of Miss Arnold, quote, Susan is an incredibly esteemed executive whose wealth of experience, unwavering integrity, and expert judgment have been invaluable to the company since she first joined the board in 2007. He continued saying, Susan is the perfect choice for chairman of the board, and I'm confident the company is well positioned for continued success under her guidance and leadership. It has been a distinct honor to work with Susan and our many other talented directors, and I'm incredibly grateful for the support and wise counsel they have provided during my tenure, close quote. It's unclear if Miss Arnold will hold much sway over Bob Chapek's rapid reshaping of the company, which seems to be at the root of current instability in Disney's share price and source of ire amongst Disney fans. So once again, micechat.com sharing that write-up about the new chairman, the chairwoman of the board, Susan Arnold taking over now as the chairman after Bob Iger exits. This is a big deal to me, Gared. At least I see it as a big deal. This is definitely, I think Mice Chat definitely wrote it up perfectly. This, to me, certainly shares a vote of no confidence. This does certainly come across as, you know, we're not going to hand this chairman role over to you, Bob. We are going to wait. And I'd like to, jump in the Wayback Machine if I can, ladies and gentlemen, and share with you all that going back to like Michael Eisner era, it's important to remember that between the Eisner handoff to Iger, Iger was also not named chairman right off the bat. So it's important. What's that?
Sorry. It took 7 years for him to actually get that position.
And I want to share with people why that is, because it's an important point. And so when we go in that Wayback Machine and we take a look at what happened during that time, as a reminder, Michael Eisner, as much as he did for Disney, and as much as I have long celebrated what Michael Eisner has done to keep Disney relevant and make it the powerhouse that it is today, he also left in sort of disgrace, right? He also left in sort of shambles, and things got really bad there towards the end for poor Eisner. He kind of lost his mind. We've talked about it on this show before. But the handoff to Bob Iger was not seen by the Disney board as something that they really wanted to do to begin with, but he was the next best thing and one of the few options that they could go with right off the bat. If we recall correctly at that time, Bob Iger was essentially a top lieutenant for Eisner, even though the two didn't get along, and that has been well documented since. Bob Iger is not somebody that they had a ton of faith in right off the bat to begin with because of his, perceived loyalty to Michael Eisner. So I wanted to give everybody that context. And then, of course, he proved himself, right, after several years as the CEO, and then he became chairman and CEO. So that was just some context I wanted to give everybody. This is a big move by the board.
Oh, yeah, it definitely is. And first, I like the photo you picked for Chapek. It's just like well, what are we going to do now kind of face.
He's quite satisfied in that image, I think.
Yeah. Like, photo aside, like, yes, he went into his position right before the the pandemic and everything shutting down. So those are big shoes to fill. And he, of course, is following after probably the second greatest leader of Disney, probably behind Walt, with all the things he's acquired and done. Like Iger is always going to be a favorite of mine, just because he has just a a positive energy about him. He comes from entertainment, and he comes from creative, so he knows how to do work the creative juices and get things going. While Chapek, of course, like he's good at making money. He comes from consumer products, and he comes from a background in finance and sales. So that's his job, is to make money. But when you see, like you said, the stock price falling, and it hurts me too, because I've got some stock in Disney. It's upsetting, and just I wish nothing but the best for the Disney company on the board, because we all love Disney, but at the end of the day, it's a business, and their job is a duty to the shareholders and in bringing positive income into the company. So I really hope that that this change of having a chairwoman will really do good for the company. But yeah, with this, I'm sure Chapek knows he's not a dumb guy. Like we may say he is foolish and makes dumb mistakes, but he knows the deal. He was never going to be a 20-year CEO like Iger was. He was never going to do like 15 plus years like Eisner. He was the man to go in there during this wartime, so to speak. And then he was going to be booted out probably for Damaro, who is rising up through the ranks, going from park president to chairman of resorts. So I don't see Chapek having a position as CEO for long. I say give it 3 or 4 years. But yeah, hopefully Susan Arnold will do good. She comes from Procter and Gamble, which is, if you didn't know, a major company that has had success. It's been around for quite a while.
Right.
So, and like if Iger gives his blessing, whether it is to save face, well, we just got to go with it, because Disney's not going to put someone in that they think is going to make the company crash and burn, because no company would self-implode on themselves like that.
Very true. Yeah, and having Susan there as sort of a safety net, that's definitely how I'm seeing this move. She's there as a stopgap, it seems. So we'll see as Chapek, probably most notably the most unpopular of Disney CEOs in history. Certainly Ron Miller, before they brought in Michael Eisner, as likable as he was, he unfortunately led the company into a pretty dark place, which is why Eisner and Frank Wells came along and revived the organization to be what it is. Even today, there are still all their fingerprints all over everything. So Susan Arnold taking over as Disney chairman as of the beginning of 2022 rolls around, and as Bob Iger departs. Oh, so much to look forward to, that's for sure. And we want to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, what you think about this move. This is a big deal, at least from our perspective. What do you make of Disney naming a new chairman not named Chapek? And do you imagine that Disney will name Chapek chairman here in the next couple of years? As I understand it, I believe Chapek's contract is up in a year or two, so the initial contract is not that long as CEO, but at any rate, we are interested in what you think. Sound off in our comment section, whether you are watching on Facebook Live or you are over on YouTube. We want to hear from you. What do you make of Disney naming a new chairman not named Chapek? And what do you think that's going to do to the organization at large? What do you think the balance that is being brought in with the sake of Susan? Do you think that there's going to be a bit of a fight, a bit of a squabble? Do you think that there's going to be peace at the top? We don't know a lot about her. She's always been in the shadows. So now I'm interested to see her personality come out and see how much she gets involved with anything, press related. Certainly the CEO is usually a face of an organization. I'm interested to see if she gets involved a little bit more, but definitely your time to sound off. Share your thoughts. That is what Disney News Talk Live is all about. When we come back, we are going to be talking to you about Disneyland tickets being sold out and Walt Disney World pausing annual pass sales. I know. It just never ends. If you want to go to these parks, you better plan at least a year in advance and hope for the best, right? We're going to dive into it right up front as soon as we take a look at this.
I'm dreaming of a white Christmas. With lots of snow and icicles and magic.
Well, just keep dreaming, because dreams really do come true.
Oh, I love it when dreams come true. And I especially want this one to come true. Most of all.
Well then, keep on dreaming and believing, and you may be surprised.
News Talk Live, Disney News Talk Live. So happy that you could join us for this broadcast. It's all about your opinions and your perspective. Your Disney Parks experience is what this show is all about. Wade Heath, Gared, Hassel for the Kingdom Report, hanging out with you here today. And if you haven't dropped us a like, make sure that you do so, whether it is on the YouTube version of this or if it is over at our Facebook live broadcast. It is, it's always such an honor to be a part of your weekend in any capacity. And if you're somebody that happens to be watching after the live broadcast, well, we want you to join in all of the conversation as well. If you see something being talked about on this broadcast, leave it in the comment section underneath this very video. We tend to respond to everybody as much as we possibly can. And definitely know that your opinion, it does matter. Your perspective, it is important now more than ever in the Disney Parks world. So we want to thank you for being a part of the show. Just before the break, we asked you, when it comes down to it, what do you make of the Disney Parks chairmanship now being up for grabs, essentially, as Bob Iger exits this month? We now have a new person being named chairman. It is not going to Bob Chapek. There's too many Bobs in this world. It's not going to Bob Chapek. Susan Arnold from the board of directors is taking over as chairman. And so we asked you what you thought of that, what you make of this situation. And you definitely sounded off. Iceman says, sadly, I'm not optimistic about the future of the company. Yeah, Gared, this is one of those things where it's like, I'm always attempting to be an optimist, especially when it comes to things like Disney, but there's been so many missteps already, and there's been so many fumbles already that it concerns me based on what we're seeing now.
Yeah.
just what we might see here in the near future. And on top of that, we don't know anything about Susan. We don't. We're certainly not sure about her, and hopefully she's a good counterbalance. Mousepiration chimes in, sort of, I guess, echoing that, saying, "Not familiar with Susan's track record, but as long as Consumer Products CEO remains in power, it will seem like a money-hungry organization without its core values
Yeah.
and imagination." But we don't know about Susan. You know, maybe she will be a good balance to Mr. Chapek.
Yeah, maybe she has some insight. Like she got picked for a reason, so maybe she does have some insight. Maybe she is seeing how things are going and be like, hey, maybe we need to pivot and try and do something else. Because if she sees the stock going down, she sees the comments people are making, so she is being put in to try and fix the issue. So I hope that she does well. She comes from consumer products, but hey, like, consumer products aren't bad. I personally I love toilet paper. I think it's an essential need. So, there it's not just all, like, money grabbing. Yeah, like, there's gotta be a reason for this, and, we'll just have to wait and see. Come Monday, we will see how the public reacts because, well, the stock market opens again. So we'll just have to wait and see, uh, in terms of how financiers look at this.
Yep, and Bob Iger's walking out the door saying, good luck. Gave you the best years of my life, and
Yeah.
hopefully it all works out for you. Alaska chimes in saying, I really miss pre-COVID Disney. Well, don't
Don't
we
we
all?
all?
Richard says, I still think Chapek was put in to make the unpopular profit-driven decisions. The next CEO will roll back half the changes, and all the guests are happy and forget what they lost. You know, that's not a bad perspective. I think that, you know, we were all really surprised by the timing of the Chapek announcement when he became CEO. I mean, this was, remember when this happened. This all occurred right before the world shut down, right before everything came tumbling down. He got announced, right? And Iger, because we knew he was leaving, but it all just felt so forced and so sudden. Do you remember that?
Yeah, no, I do. I remember I think you, me, Tyler, and Katrina, we all sent a text to each other, and we're like, what just happened? It was like the world flipped upside down because, like, Iger has had his contract extended multiple times, and we're like, hey, like, he's doing a great job. Like, let him, like, if he's willing to accept, like, continue, awesome. And then we're like, oh no, the dark times are coming. It's like a shadow has been cast across the land, and we're like, prepare for the dark ages and something like that. But Richard, I like your idea how, you put someone less popular in, and then when the next guy comes, it looks better. Sort of like how the fireworks at Epcot have gone. You had Illuminations, then you had Epcot Forever, this gigantic burning trash heap, and then you bring out Harmonious, and Harmonious, not Illuminations, but a lot better than Epcot Forever was. That's for darn sure. So, Richard, I like the thinking. Whoever the next CEO is, a guy named Josh. Hopefully, not a guy named Bob. We've had two Bobs in a row. We need someone other than a Bob. Uh,
Move into Josh.
Yeah. Move into Josh. Some other common name.
And Richard, we thank you so much for sharing. Iceman says, I think the company has some core issues that need to be addressed before it will improve for the customer. They are far too greedy and reliant of a handful of IPs. Buying IPs isn't the answer. I see this referenced a lot from Disney diehards, and that is, you know, not everything has to be IP. In fact, a lot of what made Disney special, Disney parks in particular special, is the ability to create these believable worlds based on nothing more than imagination, not necessarily IP-based attractions or experiences, but true imagination by Imagineers. And I'm totally on board with the idea of, like, you know, we don't need everything to represent a movie or a TV show, because I think that some of the most classic things ended up being stuff that was just created out of nowhere. Pirates of the Caribbean, anyone? Know, that later inspired an IP franchise.
Jungle Cruise as well. Jungle Cruise becoming like an attraction with jokes turned into a blockbuster film starring The Rock. Like, that's huge, and I would love it if each of the parks around the world said, hey, we're going to do a new ride, new concept. But don't get me wrong, the IPs, like, we may not like it, but the ones they have acquired, Disney is doing a great job. Marvel is fantastic. Star Wars, you can't really beat that. An upcoming Indiana Jones film, you got Fox. Like, the acquisitions that Bob Iger did in his tenure were like they broke the mold for what businesses could do. He got Pixar at a time when Steve Jobs was prepared to set Disney on fire
Right.
via the iPod or something, but because Iger came in and was buddies with him, they managed to work things out. And so IPs are not necessarily bad, but I think getting some new content, some original stuff in the parks will be good in the long run. I sincerely hope that in the future we get either another Jungle Cruise movie or maybe something based on Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Like it's a roller coaster about a train that does its own thing. Like it's a simple idea, but it works. Imagineers, they are geniuses at what they do. So I say you just got to give them free rein and let them do what they do. Yeah, IP's definitely going to be there because they've invested so much money into them. They got to get that return on investment, even though they've probably already gotten that right now with Marvel.
Let creative people be creative, that's for sure. Jen says, I would hope that having more women in top positions is usually a good thing and would be bring a more balanced view in their decision making. You know, and Jen, that's something that over the course of time too, I've always wondered that about Disney. It's been predominantly a very sort of male-heavy, upper executive branch, and the handful of ladies that have been in the mix have been in positions that have not necessarily been creative-driven, have not necessarily been in too many chairmanships, and so this is kind of I was talking with somebody earlier this morning about it, who said much the same thing. Where have the women been in the leadership of the Disney company over the course of the last 50 years? Because there haven't been a whole lot outside of more localized approaches. Mary Niven as the vice president and then senior executive vice president out at the Disneyland Resort. Chris Tyler, the vice president of Disneyland Park. So certainly a lot more ladies are rising up in sort of the local ranks of leadership. But as far as leading the organization in its entirety, where have the women been? Especially for a company that is so proud of the diversity and the culture that it creates. It's nice to see that Susan is assuming the chairmanship at this point. So, Jen, thank you so much for your thoughts. And we'll take one more here. This is from Third Shift cast member, says Chapek has zero personality. The head of a global entertainment company needs to be able to hold his audience, and Chapek doesn't seem to care enough about his audience to bother.
Exactly.
I call him Captain Charisma for a reason, Gared. That is who he is, and you can't fake sincerity. I've said it before, I think, on this broadcast and on Kingdom Report Live. You can't fake sincerity. You can't fake caring, and he tries.
Yeah. He gets a gold star on the board for trying, Wade. He certainly does try. He gave it the good old college try.
The good old college try, and that's right. Yeah, you can't fake something like that, and unfortunately, to be someone that is the foremost face of an organization that holds as much sort of stock and emotional investment as Disney does, it is unfortunate that he isn't more of a likable figure, that he isn't more engaging. Whereas, you look at the presentations that Josh D'Amaro gives, that's why people like him. It's not, and keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen, as I share every time we talk about Bob Chapek and the unpopular decisions happening at the parks, Josh D'Amaro is the chairman of Parks, Resorts, Experiences, and beyond. So these things also have to go through him, and he routinely goes unscathed in all of the fiery hate that gets thrown at Chapek. So we always like to remind people that Josh D'Amaro is also a part of this, but he's far more likable, and so he routinely gets ignored when it comes to the hate throwing, I think.
No, you're absolutely right. And some things I've noticed in the past, especially with Disney, you don't see very many companies whose CEO will go on a stage and actually present and talk and do as much. Like, you'll see it here and there, but Disney has always had their leaders up front talking to people. You constantly would see Bob Iger at movie premieres talking to the press. You'd see, like, Walt Disney. He had his own television special when he could have easily appointed someone else to do that. And yeah, Josh, he has a good personality. He's, whether you like him or don't, he puts on a good show. He's got a good personality. He seems like a guy you'd want to hang out with and honestly go around the parks with. While Chapek would be the guy be like, "Oh, I want to get a turkey leg." No, that costs too much. You're like, okay. And I've noticed subtle things.
Killjoy.
When Bob Iger still dressed in like a suit, but he was wearing kind of like a green like jacket to sort of match like the atmosphere you're in. And then behind him, you have Chapek just standing there in a normal suit, and on top of that, like Iger would have the cast member name tag in the Urbesh language, the Star Wars language, to match the motif talking to people, while Chapek would. There's too many Bobs. While Chapek would just be standing in the back, sort of wearing a normal suit, and Iger's getting down on one knee, talking to a little princess or a little Jedi, trying to understand what's going on. So you have to, when you see a CEO who is a ball of energy and has a positive outlook and is smiling like that's a good photo of Bob. That's 1 out of 50 though.
Right. Yeah, right.
And like when you have a optimistic, positive leader, even when things are going bad, like that's what you want. Like when things went bad for Disney, when the recession happened, you saw Iger, sort of putting on a brave face, and it worked. But like you haven't seen Chapek very much. He talks more analytics rather than like about like the joys and happiness. Like Josh, he's great at PR. I'll give him that. He's great at PR, even if the news he puts out isn't all that exciting. Destination D23 wasn't all that exciting when it came to news, but man, he put on a good smile. He acted cool with that lightsaber. I'm jealous of that. And like he gets involved. He gets involved. He shows up at people's houses. I like that. We just hope that there is some bite behind the bark, so to speak.
Shows up at people's houses for service anniversaries and for awards, not for anything else. So, context matters. Thank you.
He does not stalk cast members. he goes out of the goodness of his heart.
Shows up at people's houses. You can't just say that and keep going.
It's like,
nobody knows what you're talking about.
why aren't you at work right now? Like, he doesn't do that.
Yep. Well, you let us know in the comment section, as always, what your thoughts are when it comes to Bob Chapek and the new chairman taking over. Susan, it sounds like she might be exactly what is needed for the sake of potentially a stopgap, maybe a safety net for what's going on, and for just the immense unpopularity of Bob Chapek himself. But we move from there to Disney Park specific stories, and that is that Disneyland tickets are sold out for the remainder of 2021, and Walt Disney World has paused annual pass sales. Yeah, if you were looking forward to visiting Disneyland or Walt Disney World for the holiday season, it got a little bit more difficult recently. We can't wait to share that story with you right now. The following comes to us from the Orange County Register. Brady McDonald writes, if you waited until now to book a reservation to visit Disneyland and Disney California Adventure in December, you are pretty much out of luck. After today, daily tickets and annual pass holder reservations for Disneyland and Disney California Adventure are unavailable for the rest of December. At the time of publication, reservations for Wednesday, December the 1st were still available for visitors wishing to purchase daily tickets, but daily tickets with reservations for December 2nd through the 31st were sold out. Magic Key annual pass holder reservations were sold out December 1st through the 31st at the time of publication as well. Disneyland fans hoping to catch a glimpse of Christmas decor at the Anaheim theme parks still have a chance, with the holiday celebrations stretching through January the 9th. Reservations were still available January 2nd through the 9th for daily tickets, but Magic Key reservations were unavailable through January 9th at the time of publication. The daily ticket and Magic Key online calendars are dynamic and constantly changing, which means unavailable reservations can become available again at any time. The winter holidays have always been a busy time, with Disneyland often forced to shut its gates between Christmas and New Year's and redirect visitors to Disney California Adventure before the COVID-19 pandemic. That scenario is unlikely to play out the same way this year, with the introduction of reservation requirements for both parks. The result of the Disneyland reservation system has been to spread out demand from the busy week between Christmas and New Year's to all of December and into early January. Disneyland and DCA continue to operate under limited attendance capacity during the phased reopening of the parks following a 412-day coronavirus closure. Disneyland is managing attendance by leveraging its theme park reservation system that requires advanced reservations for Magic Key holders and day guests to help provide a great guest experience for all and spread out visitation, according to Disney officials. Magic Key holders reserve dates from a separate theme park reservation inventory and access calendar than regular day visitors. Disneyland encourages Magic Key pass holders to cancel reservations as soon as they realize they're not going to use them, freeing up reservations for other key holders. Reservation scarcity has infuriated annual pass holders accustomed to relatively unfettered access to the parks before the pandemic and the introduction of the new Magic Key program. Magic Key reservations have been unavailable for weeks at a time, with additional availability pulsed into calendars at random intervals. Disneyland ended its former 4-decade-old annual pass program in January during the extended coronavirus closures of the parks. The new Magic Key annual passes went on sale in August, with prices ranging from $1,399 with no blackout dates to $399 with the most blackout dates. Disneyland has sold out of the two most expensive Magic Keys, the $1,399 Dream Key and $949 Believe Key, which is the one that I have. The $649 Enchant Key and $399 Imagine Key are still available for now. Disneyland officials said they will continue to monitor the Enchant and Imagine keys and make adjustments as needed. Once again, our thanks to the Orange County Register for that, and from there we move right on into Yahoo News, who wrote the following, saying that Walt Disney World has paused sales of select annual passes until at least 2022. Announced in a message posted to the theme park's website last week, the move is aimed at managing park capacity as the holiday travel season gets underway. Existing pass holders will be able to renew their passes, but anyone who doesn't already have a pass will have to wait unless they live in Florida and have ample free time on weekdays. The only annual pass currently available for Disney World is the Disney Pixie Dust Pass, which provides Florida residents with unlimited visits to Walt Disney World's Florida theme parks on most weekdays for $399 a year and is the cheapest annual pass Disney offers in Orlando. Disney's Pirate Pass, which allows Florida residents to visit most days of the week, including weekends, for $699 a year, won't be available until at least 2022. Neither of Disney's annual passes for non-Florida residents, which offer unlimited visit to Disney parks in Florida for between $899 and $1,299 a year, are currently available. Those passes are also expected to become available again sometime in 2022. Disney launched new versions of its annual passes in September as a way to help guests commemorate the world's most magical celebration all year long. Disney this year is celebrating its 50th anniversary with lots of special events and a number of promotions, including a partnership with Southwest Airlines. Quote, "We are introducing 4 new annual passes offering the flexibility and choice to meet guest needs. Each design based on pass holder feedback," a Walt Disney World spokesperson said in a blog post at the time. Some pass holders, however, found the new versions to be a bit of a downgrade. While passes include parking and discounts, a PhotoPass feature that used to be included now costs an additional $99. Once again, our many thanks to Yahoo News for that Walt Disney World story. So that kind of makes you think about a lot of the, imposed restrictions now that are coming along with these things that really just got started here a couple months ago, Gared. We had these annual passes that essentially re-debuted for Disneyland just a few months back, already selling out, and now annual passes are being paused out at Walt Disney World. On top of that, if you want to go to Disneyland for the holidays, you're essentially out of luck at this point. You don't really have a recourse, and the calendars are completely booked out. I'm really fortunate. I have that Believe Key, as I mentioned there. I squatted on reservations to get into Disneyland in December, specifically because I knew that as soon as more people started buying the annual passes and realizing that they needed to make reservations in advance, that eventually December was just going to get gobbled up really, really fast. It was going to probably happen overnight. That's what happened. And so I'm really glad that I thought about that because December's gone. And now even huge chunks of January are gone on the Magic Key Pass calendar. But what do you think? I mean, this is something that Obviously, with the reservation system, they're doing it specifically, right, to manage capacity in the parks and make it a little bit easier for the sake of people's visits and feeling comfortable. I'm just removed from a Walt Disney World trip. I've been to Disneyland in the last 2 weeks. It does not feel any less
No,
crowded than 2019.
no. It doesn't feel crowded at all. Like, yes, the initial rush in the morning is crazy, and yeah, fireworks may be a little cramped, but the only place I've actually felt like there's a massive amount of people is Epcot in the evenings when everyone's park hopped to Epcot to drink around the world in the evenings. That's the only time I ever feel it actually being, packed. So I when the news broke about, hey, we're canceling annual passes at Walt Disney World, I was blindsided. I was like, wait, what? Like, they just brought it back and now you're canceling it all of a sudden. And I know they haven't like sold out. And of course there's more money in day passes, but for them to get rid of this like without really any warning is just maybe they're going to redo it again. Maybe they're going to try something new because it used to just, you had platinum plus, you had platinum, you had gold, you had silver, and that seemed to work. It was straightforward and simple. But the reservation system, of course, changes the whole algorithm behind it all. Um, so maybe we're gonna get a new version of the Incredipass in the future, or the Pirates Pass, or maybe the keys are gonna change again instead of. I I really don't know. It was really strange when this came out, and uh, yeah, Marco, there is no other passes. I despise lines. Yeah, like getting rid of annual passes, it stinks, and especially with the parks now being sold out for the holiday season. Hey, if you're able to go, please go and enjoy it. If not, don't let it ruin your holiday season. Disney World and Disneyland aren't going anywhere. You'll have the opportunity to go again, perhaps in the new year once Disney figures out everything. But truth be told, going to Magic Kingdom on Christmas Day is miserable
Yeah.
because the line to get into the parking lot alone, it stretches sometimes from where they take you where you buy your parking pass. It sometimes will stretch all the way down to the exit for Epcot Resorts Boulevard. It will stretch over 4 miles down that way, and then you're cramped. Everything is an hour plus. You can't get food. Going on actual holiday days are, I think, a little overrated. That's my personal opinion. So if you are going, please enjoy it. But I've experienced New Year's Eve at Walt Disney World and Disneyland, and Epcot's the only place you want to be because it's a giant party, but still it's cramped. You're elbows to elbows. If you don't want to be around people, um, and all that, like, it's rough. But yeah, it's shocking that the passes got removed. Hopefully they come back. Hopefully they come reinvented a certain way. The prices are just enormous now. Like, I never thought I would see a normal pass go for $1,300
Yeah.
just to enjoy theme parks. It's crazy because when I was a kid, it was like, hey, $300, you can go any day you want, and on top of that, Mickey Mouse will come to your house on your birthday. Like, it was something like that. But nowadays it's just like, give us the money. We want the green. So, yeah, it's a crazy time, especially right before the holidays, and this announcement be like, hey, if you wanted to go, you better have had it because now you don't get the chance.
It's unfortunate to say the least. I know that if you were a family that was planning to come to Disneyland and buy tickets day of, looks like you might just be out of luck. As mentioned in the story, there are, and this has been going on now for several months since Disneyland returned and the Magic Key passes came into being, and that is that this dynamic calendar, as I mentioned in the story, they can suddenly open up opportunities for people to visit again. Out of nowhere, they'll flick a switch and suddenly
Yeah,
a couple of days show up again, a couple of days are back, and you can book them. And it's something that I know drives people nuts because you can't really plan, right? You can't
yeah.
really
Unless
plot and
you
plan
are,
your trip.
yeah, unless you're a local, it does not work. Because there have been times where I've told you like, hey, I don't know if I'll be able to get a pass for a live show, but then that afternoon at 2 o'clock, hey, wait, I'll be at this park. Like, it's amazing. Or like, you're like, man, I really want to go next week, and then 2 days before, hey, there's a park pass available. Like, Disney is notorious for doing these old bait and switches where it's like, oh, you should have had the chance, and then people are like, I gotta go, and then they'll book a last second flight out there to be there Christmas Day. It will. I'm willing to bet something like that will happen where either New Year's Eve or Christmas Day they'll be like, hey, we actually found a few spots lying around. Like, you found them lying around, really, in a database system? Sure.
They just popped up, and now we turn it on over to all of you. How do you feel about so many reservation and ticket restrictions from coast to coast going into the rest of December and even the beginning of January? So the holiday season ahead of us completely being booked out. Does that give you any sort of hesitation in planning and plotting a trip for the near future? If it can happen now, I suppose this could happen at any point. We're seeing it a lot more happening at Disneyland, obviously due to size restrictions, but we are very interested in hearing whether or not this is playing into whether or not you plan a trip for Walt Disney World or Disneyland. Let us know in the comment section. As always, your perspective, yes, it does matter. And you stick with us. There is plenty more to talk about, including It's a Small World holiday. Sounds like it is on its way back, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to tell you the story behind the story and what happened exactly straight ahead.
From now on, our troubles will be out of sight. Have yourself a merry little Christmas. Let the Yuletide gay. From now on, our troubles will be miles away. Here we are as in olden days, happy golden days of yore. Friends who are dear to us, gather near to us once more. Through the years, we all will be together. If the fates allow, hang a shining star upon the highest bough. A merry little Christmas now. Through the years, we all will be together. If the fates allow, let a shining star upon the highest bough. Have yourself a merry little Christmas starting now. Gotta have Merry Christmas. Have yourself a merry little Christmas now.
Disney News Talk Live. Always grateful to have you with us. If you haven't dropped a like on this video, make sure that you do so. A like, a subscribe is even more helpful. Make sure that you go ahead and drop those down below. And this is all about your opinions, your thoughts, your perspective when it comes to Disney parks from coast to coast. If you are somebody that is interested in sharing your thoughts and your opinions, drop them in our comment section. We will feature you live here. Also, on top of that, make sure that if you are watching after the live broadcast on demand, that you are indeed leaving your comments underneath the video so that we can respond to you as we see them come in. Your perspective matters now more than ever when it comes to Disney parks. So we asked just before the break, when it comes to Disneyland restrictions, Walt Disney World restrictions, all of the ticket problems that they're having, Disneyland being sold out the rest of the year for ticket holders and Magic Key holders, annual passes being paused out in Florida. Share with us. So what's on your mind? Does this give you any sort of pause? Is this something that bothers you at all? And certainly Jen chimes in saying Disney should by all means be allowed to cash in on the brand they have built. I think it was just a lot for a lot of people right now. All the changes at the same time, paying for Genie Plus. That's a great perspective to have too, because there is a lot changing, right? Everything coming out of we'll say the reopening of Walt Disney World reopening of Disneyland, while they certainly happened at different times, there's just been a cascade of changes that have occurred since both properties have reopened, right? And so change can be very difficult for people, especially when you were so used to something before, and now everything else has been essentially modified. Much of it done for the sake of health and safety, especially initially, and now it's sort of wearing down, and they're allowing more and more freedoms back into the park that were so restricted when we first returned. And then on top of that, you have the operational changes that have gone into things, from restaurants not reopening until just recently for the sake of added attendance, to things that you can and can't do. Genie Plus, I think, is a really great new addition to point to as something that has radically changed and really sort of rocked the foundation of Disney Parks fans, because it's changed everything, right? It's no longer Fast Pass that you could get for free. It's no longer something that for 25 years we knew as something that was complimentary. Now you pay for it. And Gared, I want to share with you, when I was out in Walt Disney World this past week, it was something that really surprised me when it came to Genie Plus, and that is, I bought it each day for the sake of using it, seeing if it was worth it, and I was timing the standby line versus the Genie Plus Lightning Lane line that I would get returns to, and I would, obviously, you pay for $15 or whatever it is for the sake of getting into a variety of rides throughout the day. Then usually each park has the top two mega attractions that you pay separately for. So like, say for Epcot, you pretty much get everything in the park under Genie Plus for one cost, and then you pay separately for something like Remy's Ratatouille Adventure because it's, the hot ticket in town. Well, I'll point out that standby lines seem to have been almost more than half of the time. We're probably up in the 60% category between all the parks that I went to. Almost 60% of the time, I found that standby wait times that were on the marquee were not anywhere near reality.
Yeah.
And not anywhere near reality by a lot. So
Yeah.
I'll give you a breakdown here. I went on Soarin' at Epcot. My Genie Plus experience, right? It tells you, oh, you can book this. Here's your window where you can book your Lightning Lane access. And again, you pay for this now. But if you do standby, it said you're going to have to wait 45 minutes. I saw that on the standby. I thought, I'm going to test this out just to see what the wait time really is. Gared, it was 4 minutes.
Boy, oh boy.
How do you get that wrong? That's not, I'm all for a 10-minute buffer. I'm all for like a window, of error, because that can happen, right? Lines can fluctuate. How does a line go from a posted 45 minutes to, it was a walk-on? That 4 minutes, it's if you've ever walked to Soarin', it's a long walk from the marquee to get onto the ride itself.
Yeah.
That was 4 minutes. I never stopped. I walked right onto the ride.
Yeah. When I was a cast member, I had a few friends that worked attractions, and I would say like, "Hey, tell me a little bit about like it says 60 minutes, but I only waited like 45." And they're like, "Oh, it's part of the psychology where you put a wait time a little bit longer, and then when it's shorter, you're like, hey, that was more satisfying. That wasn't so bad." So it's part of the psychology. But for them to
45 minutes,
yeah, for them no, I'm saying for them
and
to
it's a walk-on
it by 10 times the time that was allowed, they are really trying to sell the new Genie Plus system really, really hard, because maybe it's failing, or maybe they're like, man, we're not getting the kind of energy or excitement from it that we were doing. Like, we got to fix the numbers a little bit. They got to cook the books, and that's what it looks like.
That's how it feels.
They're cooking the books. They're saying, hey, like, listen, you want to go on Winnie the Pooh? It's 5 hours, but you Genie Plus, it's only 5, and then you wait in line. It's like, it was actually only 10 minutes. So I think they're cooking the books. Maybe Genie Plus isn't going the way it's wanting to, or something, because Bob Chapek, in an interview, he said like, oh, it's been well received. We find that 75% of our park guests are using it and utilizing it, and they love it. But after your experience, like, I can't imagine doing something like that unless it maybe was a holiday day like 4th of July, Christmas, New Year's Eve. Those would be days that I could understand, because that's when you can physically see how long the lines are. But folks, to you listening, if you're doing Disney, if you're going to Disneyland, Disney World, try taking a look at the line. Like, just take a look and then go on it, because the queues are set up to fit a certain amount of people. And with Soarin', if it's out the front door, it's going to be a little bit longer. But if you can't see anyone, and even just walking in and turning around the corner, you see no one, just head on in, because I guarantee you it will be less than 15 minutes at that point. So yeah, Disney's cooking the books a little bit, Wade. And on behalf of everyone, I have to thank you for like sacrificing time, effort, and money to see the lies that the queue signs are putting out, because 45 minutes, they better bring back Soarin' over California at Epcot for it to be 45 minutes for me personally. I'd wait that long, but man, 10 times the actual wait, that's sad.
40 minutes for Pirates of the Caribbean ended up being 11 minutes. So standby projection was 40 minutes on the marquee, ended up being 11 minutes to get on. On top of that, I'm thinking about pretty much every ride I did at Epcot had a 35 to 40 minute wait. All ended up being substantially less as well. It was something that at the end of the day, I thought there's clearly, this isn't margin of error. There is clearly something going on here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not a conspiracy theorist when it comes to these sorts of things, but there is an inflation of time happening here for the sake of forcing people to buy this thing, I think. And it really bothers me because at the end of the day, I didn't need Genie Plus. At the end of the day, I didn't need it. And I learned that. But they charge you up front for all your days. So when you've got, say a 3-day ticket, they charge you for all 3 days right up front.
Yeah.
And that's something that I was like, well, can't get that money back, can I? I used it both times, and very bothersome.
Yeah, like you don't want the money to go to waste. It's similar to the Disney dining plan where you're like, oh, I got an extra cookie. Do I really need a cookie? No, but I'm going to get it because I don't want to throw the money away. So yeah, music lover Disney is charging us way more for less. In this case, it kind of seems that way. Like for Pirates of the Caribbean, like I've never actually waited in a line longer than 20 minutes for that attraction. And for them to say it's 4 times longer than it is, like I can chalk it up to pirates don't really know how to tell time because they're drunk off of rum. But this is
rum.
just, it's the rum. But yeah, it really seems like they're lying about times on the marquee to try and get you to buy this service when perhaps you don't actually need it, where the old system of Fast Pass Plus seemed to be far more efficient, even though you only got 3 at a time. Like, but it could come down to this is how Disney's trying to make lost revenue after the pandemic, and like, hey, making 20 plus bucks off of a person, it adds up. But it really is a dang shame, because when the idea came out, I was like, hey, this is actually pretty useful. This would be good for people that have never been to Disney World before, that don't know like how the whole system works. So this would be a great way of sort of orchestrating your time rather than using a travel agent. But it doesn't seem very magical after what you've told us.
And keep in mind, these are only introductory prices. Disney has made sure to underscore that word and definitely make sure that that's highlighted. Yeah. So it's only introductory. These prices are going to go up for Genie Plus. And yes, we are still waiting for Disneyland to announce when Genie Plus is going to activate. They've been training people. Infrastructure's been getting laid. They did say late fall, and as I've said here many times, that could literally mean the day of December 21st when officially the calendar turns to winter. So that could be coming at any time. So brace yourselves. What do we have here? Vera Mike says, "I'm a Walt Disney World local. Nothing gets in my way. I feel bad." Man. For the first-time visitors and those who aren't wise to the game, and that's what Walt Disney World is. It's a destination for people from all over the world, and it's a place that really does get the international visitors that have no idea what they're doing. And so that's why there's such a market for, kind of what we do. And there's such a market for, these sort of learning channels in these places that cover Disney parks, because it's a beast. And so when you're a local, you have that luxury.
Yeah, no, me being a local, like I would get off of work and say, know what, I'm going to go to Epcot. I'm going to go on the Frozen attraction. Then I'm going to see Illuminations at the time, or Harmonious, and boom, it works out. But now it's you almost have to have sort of a degree, at least an associate's
Right.
degree, to understand the whole mechanism, which is Walt Disney World, because there are so many moving parts. There's, along with the pass to get into the park, there's also dining reservations. Also, what about the Magical Express, which is soon going away? Also, resorts. How does that play into it? Getting a normal ticket versus you're staying at a resort. There are so many different parts, and for if there are any first timers coming out there in the future, it's it's going to be a lot to handle, and it can be very stressful. Planning a vacation on its own anywhere is stressful, but Disney World has so many little things that sort of change the game, as it was put. So yeah, just watch videos, do your research, study beforehand, talk to travel agents. Don't go in there blindly without any help, because you will get frustrated and you will never want to come back. But Disney World is a place meant to be enjoyed, but all these things definitely take away from that experience when you're already exhausted before you even go on an attraction.
Yeah, when you need a vacation from your vacation planning, that certainly changes the dynamic of things. And I'm Sleeping Beauty says, so what's the point in getting a magic key if you can't even get in? I'd be pissed if I paid that much for a pass just to be denied entry. Yeah, I'm Sleeping Beauty. This is something that we've definitely gone over a lot on this show in particular, especially as we started to learn that the highest tier magic key pass ended up getting completely sort of locked out of most months going into the end of the year. And it's something that, obviously they stopped selling both the Dream Key and the Believe Key, the top tier and the secondary, because of that. But yeah, no, absolutely. If I paid for the pass that was not meant to have any restrictions, I should be able to make reservations whenever I want. That's what I paid for. So completely agree with you there. And we'll take one more here. Anne says, you can't get in, or you can't get it just for one day. We assume you mean Genie Plus there. Yes, you can. If your ticket is a one-day ticket, you can buy it for the one day. As I understand it, you're also able to purchase it day of when you get into the park for that specific day. However, in advance, before the trip, you don't have an option other than to pay for the entire duration of your park ticket purchase. So I had like a 3-day park ticket purchase bulk, and then I had a 1-day ticket after that and another 1-day ticket after that. So it just, by coincidence, that's how it was set up. And so the 3-day park ticket cluster that I had purchased all at once, I needed to then pay, $45 for Genie Plus right off the bat for that 3-day cluster. And I thought, all right, I'll try it on this 3-day span and see if it really does matter to me in the end, if it's something that really is beneficial. And it turned out not to be at all in my own experience. So, Anne, thank you for that. Thank you for all of your comments and for sharing your thoughts here today. It means a lot. And now we move along to the other big story coming out of Disneyland, and that is It's a Small World holiday. It is making a comeback, baby. The story behind what happened and specifically why it's coming back now is a fascinating one. Let's dive right into it. The following comes to us from East Bay Times. They write, it took a small village of more than 20 Disneyland apartments to repair and reopen It's a Small World in time for Christmas after a flood threatened to shutter the classic boat ride for the entire holiday season. It's a Small World is expected to reopen next week, according to Disneyland officials. Disneyland Facilities Asset Project Manager Jolie Medina and Ride Systems Manager Jason Tomlin helped lead the Small World project team that was swiftly assembled after an underground maintenance room was inundated while the water ride was being refilled. The flood happened in the early morning hours on November the 10th, just before It's a Small World holiday was set to make its 2021 Christmas debut at the Anaheim theme park. Quote, I don't think you could have planned this to happen at a worse time, Tomlin said during an online video interview. The initial shock of the Small World flood was followed by disbelief and denial. Quote, once the water level metaphorically and literally drained, we got some clarity on what we had to do, Tomlin said. We've had to really embark on a scale that we've never done before in such a short amount of time, close quote. The brains of the attraction were damaged when the 8-foot deep maintenance room under the Small World load and unload station filled with water, submerging the electrical equipment and ride controls that operate the water pumps and load station conveyor belts. All things that we shared with you on this very program about 2 weeks ago regarding all of the things we were hearing from our sources inside the Disneyland Resort. The story continues saying, the fix, which would normally take months, needed to be finished in weeks if the holiday version of It's a Small World was going to open during the Christmas season. The first step, pump all the water out of the subterranean maintenance room. An industrial-grade dehumidifier the size of an Autopia car was lowered by crane onto the Small World loading station to help remove moisture from the maintenance room as fast as possible. Quote, "We just opened up all the panels and turned on the dehumidifier for 48 hours, Medina said during an online video interview. It really dried out the space," close quote. After assessing the damage, crews figured out what could be salvaged and what needed to be replaced. Then the race was on to find replacement parts and get them delivered quickly amid supply chain issues exacerbated by the pandemic. Quote, "We're reaching out to the other small worlds and other rides around the world at Disney parks and saying, hey, do you guys have this part and can you have it here by tomorrow?" Tomlin said. Heavier items like motors and gearboxes needed to be lowered by crane into the relatively tight confines of the underground vault. Once all the new components were installed, they needed to be tested and inspected. It's a Small World was created for the 1964 World's Fair in New York and shipped back to Disneyland after the International Expo. The popular water ride with the catchy theme song has been recreated at Disney theme parks around the globe. It's been a worldwide effort stretching from France to Florida and China to Japan to get Small World up and running again at Disneyland. The 24/7 operation had to contend with visitors in the parks by day and after-hours special events like a stage setup in front of Small World for overnight filming. Quote, "You have the ABC Holiday special filming right there and you're 20 feet away trying to get the equipment in and out," Medina said. During the past 3 weeks, the Small World project team held a daily meeting 7 days a week at 7:30 a.m. to assess progress and plan the next steps. Quote, "We had 20 plus different departments working on this," Medina said. All told, more than 75 Disneyland employees worked on the Small World refurbishment project. Quote, "It literally takes a village, and we've had to talk to almost everyone in that village in such a short amount of time," Tomlin said. That's the exclamation mark on all of this. The scale of what we've done in such a short amount of time that involved so many people, close quote. Disneyland teams worked around the clock to get Small World repaired and reopened as quickly as possible and finished a project that normally would have taken months in about 3 weeks. Quote, "Small World equals Christmas at Disneyland," Tomlin said. That theme really brought the team together towards the common goal, close quote. And, quote, "It's just one of those attractions that it doesn't feel quite like Christmas time if it's not working and guests can enjoy it," Medina said. Once again, our many thanks to East Bay Times for that story. Kind of an incredible story just to know what happened and how fast they've been able to bring all of this together, Gared, just for the sake of enjoyment for all of us for the holiday season. Like I said in the story, we were being filled in on the back end with our sources at the Disneyland Resort as to what was really happening, and they were horrified. Everybody was.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody was in total shock that this was happening, number one. And number two, the projections as to how long this was going to take to get fixed, I mean, it stretched into springtime of next year.
Yeah, this was a nightmare situation at Disneyland, if there ever was one. As much as people may find Small World to be annoying and just a song that's stuck in your head, the one at Disneyland is a work of art. As you said, it was made for the World's Fair, and it has been there since the get-go, and it's been there for so long, and it's a work of art. It's beautiful, especially during the holidays when they get it all decked out. It is absolutely breathtaking. It is not like the one at Walt Disney World at all. It's in its own category of attractions, and for them to get it done so fast, especially with what's going on, and like you've seen how long Tron takes, you've seen how long Epcot transformation has taken. it's miraculous to say the least. So kudos to the Disneyland team in getting this incredible attraction up and running again, because like people want to go on this ride. It is amazing. It's nostalgic. It reminds you of your childhood, and especially during the holidays, Small World Holiday is simply breathtaking. And I hope everyone gets a chance to experience it, because it is incredible. So man, can you imagine a worse catastrophe? 8 feet down, having to put in a giant dehumidifier. Like it seems like it was a major surgery more than like some
Right.
mechanical thing. Yeah, it was like working on a human being rather than, oh, it's just some mechanical parts. Like no, it's a breathing entity. At Disneyland. Sorry.
Yep, no, it is. It's a living, breathing beast. And Alaska says, so glad It's a Small World got fixed. Great job. Yeah, kudos to all these teams for coming together the way that they did. I can tell you from my decade and some change experience working with Disney, it is an act of God to move the water cooler sometimes. Like, it's impossible to get things done quickly in that environment. Disney's a mega company. It has a lot of levels. There's a lot of people involved. There's somebody for everything, and then there's 3 more people behind them that also have to sign off on stuff. So that this was able to happen so quickly, that they were able to sort of circle the wagons, if you will, to make all of this come together as fast as it has, especially with supply chain issues, especially with things that have them backed up, and they can't necessarily create things in-house. They have to rely on other places and other regions for the sake of supplies. This is a remarkable story, and we agree. Alaska, this is a tremendous achievement and a fantastic job on behalf of Disneyland Facilities. Bravo to all of them. Richard says, glad they still did the projections and lights. Yeah, Richard, the one thing they could do was the facade, which is the most, I guess the biggest part of the wow factor when it comes to the holidays at It's a Small World. So yeah, it's beautiful. I was there a couple weeks ago when just after all this was sort of announced and Small World Holiday was supposed to be back online. And unfortunately, there was like security that was posted at the attraction to make sure that no looky-loos got too close. They had erected walls over the control console area, and they were moving things back and forth. And it was just a very sort of scared and hurried response. So definitely something that while being able to see it in person and not necessarily knowing all of the story yet, it was unusual to say the least. And now knowing they were able to get this all taken care of before the end of the holiday season so that it could finally have its run. This is incredible, Gared.
Yeah, this is
Disney magic.
Oh, absolutely. It's Disney magic. It's holiday magic. Like, movies like, Miracle on 34th Street, like this is it in real life for something that could take months to get done. Like magic happened. I don't know. The teams were blessed by Walt from up above to get this done. Be like, I will give you all my powers to get this thing done, because that was Walt's baby. He loved It's a Small World, and for it to, yes, the facade outside is beautiful, and I'm glad they had that, because they could easily be like, listen, the ride's not down. We're not putting anything up there. We're just gonna make it be the dark corner of the park. No. They wanted to at least be like, it may not be open, but man, does it look pretty on the outside.
That's for sure. And we are very grateful to have It's a Small World Holiday back in our lives and reopening this coming week. And ladies and gentlemen, we turn from one creative feat that is Walt Disney Imagineering's It's a Small World under Walt's watchful eye, having been created for the 1964 World's Fair, to the very realistic modern day issue of Walt Disney Imagineering being shaken up at the very top. So not only do we have the movement at the top of the Walt Disney organization, as we covered here for you at the beginning of the broadcast, with Bob Chapek, the CEO, not being the person that the board of directors is going to make chairman. In fact, they are giving that to a woman that works as part of the board of directors, and now she will be the new chairwoman. Susan Arnold is her name. But there's also big movements, there's also big shakeups happening over at Walt Disney Imagineering that could definitely impact the way in which we experience the theme parks moving forward. And that is because Walt Disney Imagineering's leader, Bob Weiss, has stepped down for the sake of somebody new being installed into the position. Let's dive in to that story. And this story comes to us courtesy of The Wrap. They write, "The evolving status of Walt Disney Imagineering, the secretive arm of the company responsible for designing theme park attractions, cruise ships, and retail experiences, continues, with news of a major leadership shakeup. On Tuesday, Bob Weiss, who has been president of Walt Disney Imagineering for the past few years, announced that he would be stepping down. Barbara Bauza will become president of Walt Disney Imagineering, while Weiss moves into a consultant role at the division. Bauza joined the company in June 2020 as president of business operations, design, and delivery. Before that, she had served as a co-managing director of architectural firm Gensler Los Angeles. The news comes just ahead of Walt Disney Imagineering moving their operation from Glendale, California, where it had been established by Walt Disney. It was just down the street from the studio, but far enough away to keep prying eyes out. The division will now move to Lake Nona, Florida, not far from its Walt Disney World Resort complex. Since the beginning of the pandemic, a number of notable Imagineers have either been fired, let go, or quit voluntarily, unable or unwilling to move their families and spouses across the country. Folks like Joe Rohde, Amy Jupiter, Kevin Lively, Jim Shaw, and more are no longer at Imagineering. Weiss will still technically be at the company, but in more of an advisory, ceremonial role. He'll still be in documentaries, undoubtedly, and appear at events and openings. Weiss joined the company in 1980, shortly before the opening of Epcot Center in Florida. He spearheaded the Disney MGM Studios project, which opened in 1989 and made him the golden boy of former Disney CEO and chairman Michael Eisner. Eisner tasked him with developing a European version of the Disney MGM Studios park, then called Disney MGM Studios Europe. It was eventually opened as Walt Disney Studios Park in 2002, and an embryonic version of what would turn into Tokyo Disney Sea. Around the same time, Eisner also had Weiss embark on a much iffier project that ultimately mired in controversy and defeat. Disney's America, a historically themed park which was set to open outside Manassas, Virginia. Following the very public fallout from the Disney's American quagmire, Weiss quietly left the company in 1994. He later started his own company, Island Designs, eventually returning to Walt Disney Imagineering in 2008, where he worked on the redesign of Disney California Adventure and the Shanghai Disneyland Resort. In 2016, he was named president of Walt Disney Imagineering. In the years since, Weiss has tried to implement some subtle but significant changes within the company, opening it up a little bit and loosening the CIA-like levels of secrecy while still maintaining the class and mystique of Imagineering. This is evidenced with things like the Imagineering Story, a prestige documentary series on Disney Plus that offered an inside look at Imagineering and remains one of the very best original programs on the platform. As Imagineers, we are inspired by our history and by those who helped shape it. Disney legend Marty Sklar, who was a close friend and mentor to me, served as a visionary leader at Imagineering for over 5 decades and, ultimately, became our global Imagineering ambassador. In this role, Marty was able to invest in our legacy as a way to build our future, mentor and advocate for our talent, recruit the next generations of Imagineers, and help record our history through his writing, Weiss wrote in an email to staff that was graciously provided by Walt Disney Imagineering. Today, I'm excited to announce that I will follow Marty's lead and assume the Global Imagineering Ambassador role beginning next year. In another quote, I am confident about transitioning into this role now after working with Barbara Bauza over the past 16 months and knowing that the future of Imagineering is secure under her leadership, Weiss wrote. Barbara has taken on increasing responsibility during her tenure, and I am continually impressed with her talent, her leadership, and the relationships she's already built across our company. I am also very grateful to have the full support of Josh D'Amaro, who has demonstrated his commitment to Imagineering time and time again, and his belief that WDI is critical to our company's future and overall success, close quote. According to one former Imagineer who spoke on Background, Weiss's removal signifies that there really is, quote, no safe ground to stand on within the unit. Once again, this story comes to us courtesy of The Wrap. So I think that goes to show you, Gared, that last quote that they got, basically somebody who was not going to be named, but somebody that worked within the organization, saying that there's no safe ground to stand on. They make it sound with that quote like Bob has been pushed out, based purely on that quote. That's what that leads you to believe. I don't know if that's true. This is I have to say, for him to have just become head of Imagineering in 2016, this hasn't been a long tenure. Certainly he's been with the organization for a long time, but to go to this global ambassador role, it's a figurehead position. It has no real power. They call it a consultant. It has no power. It's just there to run events. It's just there to be the face of things like Marty Sklar was.
Yeah.
And so it's very odd to me that at this time, at this juncture where Bob Chapek is taking over as full-fledged CEO, Iger is walking out the door here in another week or two, and now there's a huge shakeup at Imagineering, and the one person that comes from sort of a more old school philosophy when it comes to Imagineering is being shown the door himself.
Yeah, it's tragic to see because he has an amazing resume of accomplishments. He helped work on Tokyo, Epcot, as well as Shanghai. After he came back from Shanghai, he was promoted to his current role, and that was less than 7 years ago. So it shows just how Imagineering is changing, and like you said, the old school people are slowly fading away. So, and especially with the move from its original campus in Burbank to now Lake Nona, that's just a showing that things are changing for Imagineering. Hopefully it's not the end of Imagineering as we know, because there's always been different things happening for Imagineering. Like, they've gone through different CEOs who handle things differently, especially like you had Walt, who was there every day checking out what's going on. Then you have people like Bob Iger pushing it along. Then after Frank passed away, Imagineering then became you're just doing maintenance. You're not going to be adding anything new. So we'll have to see where it goes from here. But Bob was a great guy. He had such a great personality, and he was so warm, and he was a mentor. Like, he was mentored by Sklar, who is an Imagineering legend. And to those watching us and listening to us, I highly encourage you to go on Disney Plus and watch the Imagineering story, because if you want to know the whole history of this amazing department who creates the magic that we all love, that shows you just all the different changes and ways that Imagineering has influenced the park. So go watch the Imagineering story. But yeah, it's cool that there is, a woman in a leadership role, and that she actually does have some architecture background. It's just scary to think that she hasn't been around that long, and that everyone is being uprooted to move to Florida from the original headquarters. But yeah, Imagineering is going to definitely be evolving in a certain way in the next few years. The question is it going to be an upward growth, or is it going to backslide into a role which is cookie cutter designs and like just give the bare minimum, rather than doing amazing things like what you see out at like Tokyo Disney Resort when it comes to the new Beauty and the Beast attraction versus Smuggler's Run.
Yeah, great point. And Carl says Bob Weiss was such a pivotal part of the reemergence of WDI. Sad to see he'll just be an advisor rather than a full-fledged Imagineer. Yep, exactly, Carl. More of a figurehead type position now. No real control over anything, just the face of Imagineering. We don't know that much about Barbara, other than she was hired last summer. So that, to me, in a department that is completely filled with tenure, a department that is completely overwhelmed with senior top heavy individuals that have been with the organization for decades, I don't know if this is the concept of like, hey, let's inject something fresh, somebody with a new perspective, somebody that doesn't even come from this world. Let's put them involved and let them sort of add their pixie dust to the mix. Maybe it will be beneficial. I'm optimistic, hoping that Barbara, she's coming to us with this creative background anyway, a background in design. So hopefully she's walking in the door with the limitless possibilities, sort of viewfinder on her face, and that's what she's looking through. But this is such a major move for the sake of Walt Disney Imagineering at a time that is also seeing a lot of upheaval within the Disney executive ranks to begin with everywhere else.
Yeah. The move for them to go from California to Florida, that was eye-opening for everyone, because you have people expected to uproot their entire lives in California to go to Florida. And granted, Walt Disney World is, the epicenter for the theme parks for Disney, and you can probably, like, with the, I guess, rules, regulations, and everything having to do around a business, being in Florida probably is a safer bet for Disney. They can save money. They can either pay less, pay more, or do things a little bit differently than California, which has some strict rules and guidelines. But to go from where it all began to some new campus, like, sure, you might have some new doodads, you might have more land to develop and build, and then you can test it directly at Walt Disney World. But it's a scary move, because you're getting rid of all these people that have been there for years, because they're like, I can't do this move. And there have been people that are former Imagineers tweeting like, hey, I can't do this move. It's not something happy for me. I can't speak about it, but it's not going to work out for me. And it's scary to see what the future for the Disney parks is when it comes to Imagineering, because they design every bit of the parks. Like, they choose the paint, they choose the lighting, they do sounds. Like, Imagineering is more than just building attractions. It is the entire atmosphere. That is what Imagineering does. And this is definitely, like, you've definitely sort of thrown like a rock into the hornet's nest in a way, where you have many people being upset about this, calling me like, why is Carl going? Like what? Or not Carl, but why is Bob going and stuff?
Yeah, it's incredible to think that a department with this much tenure, this much seniority, that nobody was picked from within the ranks to be the successor to Bob Weiss, and instead they went with essentially an outside hire who's only been there since summer of 2020. And no doubt Disney's a very unique culture that it takes a long time to get used to the place. It takes a long time to understand the place. And so to have this sort of fresh person walking through the door and having Barbara take over as president of Imagineering, either I think one or two things is going to happen. It's going to be a total injection of optimism, pixie dust, and a renaissance of Imagineering under new leadership and reinvigoration, or it's going to fail hard, because it's such a a hardcore set in its ways type of arm of the company, and it's going to tank hard because there's going to be some sort of revolt from within, because I can see that happening against somebody new and fresh coming in that doesn't necessarily have the backbone of the rest of the department, that hasn't come from amongst them, that hasn't been that person that can help lead the way. I think there's probably going to be some respect issues right off the bat, just because Barbara doesn't come from them, and she hasn't sprung from amongst them, if you will. And I know that Bruce Vaughn, who was the head of Imagineering here just before Bob, he was one of those people that, while he was with the company for a little while beforehand, he was sort of this youthful face that I don't really know what happened in the end, but he kind of got pushed out himself. And I know that there were big plans for him, and originally big plans for the executive branch as to where he was going to go. He left the company right after that position. He was gone. So he went and started his own thing, and basically gave up on Disney. So we will see what happens with Barbara, but now we turn it on over to all of you. Do the recent Imagineering moves concern you or make you hopeful about the future of Disney parks? Is it that sink or swim type theory that I have, where either we might see a real renaissance here and allow a whole new generation of Imagineers an opportunity to show what they can do, or do you think this is going to backfire and become a real problem for Disney down the line? As always, interested in hearing your perspective. Share it with us, whether you are watching Facebook Live or on YouTube. Leave it in our comments section. You are always highlighted here because your opinion, it does matter. You stick with us. Walt Disney World is bringing back the trams. We're covering that next. Disney News Talk Live, thanks so much for being with us on this broadcast. Happy holidays to you as well. As a reminder, if you are somebody watching after the live broadcast and you are watching on demand, we want to thank you for being with us too. Make sure that you, as you listen to these stories, as you hear the questions that we're throwing out there, that you also respond in our comments section. It means so much that you are a part of the broadcast and participating, because that is what Disney News Talk Live is all about. Your opinion, your Disney parks experiences. Now, we did ask you just before the break, when it comes to the shakeup over at Walt Disney Imagineering, what is on your mind when it comes to this earthquake of movement as Bob Weiss, the head of Imagineering, steps down into a figurehead type position, and now Barbara Bauza, who was hired last summer, as a matter of fact, for an architectural and creative type position, is now brought into being president of Walt Disney Imagineering. Richard, he shares his thoughts, saying, is any of this a reaction to Universal and what the opening of Epic Universe might mean? You know, that is an excellent question. I think that this is something where perhaps the repositioning of all of these folks out to Lake Nona in Florida might just be in preparation for that. Gared, what do you think? Is Epic Universe, even though it's several years away still on the Universal side of things, you think that Disney is sort of preparing for battle?
I think that Disney's always preparing for battle. For those that are unaware, Universal Orlando is going to be building a third park called Epic Universe, and in the past few years, Universal has been stepping up their park game, so to speak, where they're adding more interactive. You look at the Wizarding World of Harry Potter, and it is just immersive as can be. And you look at more recent things like, sure, Galaxy's Edge is quite incredible, but it feels like it missed some certain areas. So I think the move out east could be that, hey, you guys are going to build a new park. We're going to move our guys out here. We are ready out here. We're going to be we're going to be down your, we're going to be on your back. We're looking at everything you're doing, and we are ready. If you put out something, we are going to be ready out here, because if you design something in California, it can take months or years for it to get out east. And Disney World has so much more land than Disneyland, to where if they needed to build a new attraction or need to get things moving a little bit faster, they can now do that because they are now in Florida. So I think it could be a reaction to Epic Universe because Universal, they're doing some good stuff. You'd have to be foolish to say that like, oh, Universal is not even close to competition. No, they are. They do a fantastic job at Halloween Horror Nights. They have stepped up their game in recent things such as the Velocicoaster. That thing looks amazing. Hagrid's motor car attraction, that looks amazing. So Universal has come to play, and Disney, I think, has finally realized that, and they can't just sort of sit back on their laurels and be like, "Hey, we've like we're good." No, no, Disney is definitely preparing for battle. It seems that's what I would agree with, Richard.
When I was out at Walt Disney World last week, I was talking to this couple that lives in the area, and they were saying that they're now starting to enjoy going. They have annual passes at all the parks, but they said that they're now starting to enjoy going to Universal more than Disney, and they never thought that that would happen. And they continued to point to just how hospitable it seems now at Universal more than ever before, and outpacing Disney in their perspective at least, and continues to be something that allows them to come back time and time again because they feel so welcomed. And I thought that was a very interesting take from these folks that essentially retired from Rhode Island and they came on down to Florida. They've been there the last 3 years and said, we spent a lot of time at Disney, but more and more Universal is getting our attention and getting our money. We really enjoy it over there. And I thought that's good to hear. All right, good. Because competition, that creates a much better environment for all of us, doesn't it? So awesome to hear.
Absolutely. When you have competition, it brings out the best in both sides because you both want to do well. That's why sporting is so entertaining as it is, because when you see both teams giving their most to win, like it's just entertaining for everyone. And if Universal does something good, Disney wants to do it even better. So I say bring on the competition, and hopefully we get something positive on the Disney side of things.
Let's do it. And Jen says Florida is wholly a different state than California. I live in both. California fosters creativity and collaboration on a whole different level. And Jen, that might be the case. I know that being California born and bred all of my life, that unfortunately it seems like in the last few years, much of the major industry in California, they've all hightailed it out of the state. They've gone to places like Texas and Florida and Arizona and much more business-friendly environments. So in order for, I think, creativity to flourish, financials also have to flourish, and that's a big part of creativity, being able to match the level of performance that an organization wants to do and wants to, for the sake of output, I guess is what I'm trying to say. And so unfortunately, we've lost in California a lot of really creative places to much more like the southern states that are like, hey, come on down here and you won't have to pay much of anything. And I think that no doubt that the plan is to try and cut costs, obviously, with the Lake Nona relocation of things. And I agree, Jen, also on the front that, like, yes, California does foster that environment of creativity. Florida is a very different place, and certainly isn't the point of inspiration that often gets pointed to when it comes to great things from amongst us. However, I know that back in the 90s, right, they did this once, Disney did. Back in the 90s, they relocated an entire segment of their business, which was mostly animation-driven, out to Florida, out to Disney's Hollywood Studios in particular. And that is why all those office buildings back behind, the Ariel's show, as well as Toy Story Land.
The animation courtyard and stuff, or the animation courtyard is behind that building. That's where the office.
That space.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. And that's, they have a parking garage back there, all of that, because that whole space was dedicated to essentially Walt Disney Studios East. And they did it for, I don't even know how long, just a handful of years. It wasn't that long. They were only out there for maybe less than a decade. And then they realized that it was somehow more cost effective to have everybody in-house back in Burbank. And so all of that effort into making Disney's Hollywood Studios a working studio where you could walk around, see all the animators, all of that, that ended, and they relocated everybody back, for the most part, to California. So it looks like what's old is new again, and we're going that direction one more time.
Yeah. Earlier you said about how finances play a role, and that is true. In the Imagineering story, you hear Walt actually, you hear his quote where he talks about how like you want to do a lot of creative things, but it costs money. It's not
Right.
free, and that's why he and Roy did so well because Walt was the creative one. He had the ideas, and Roy was the one that always figured out how to make things possible, whether it was by selling things or reallocating money. So I definitely think this is a money move as much as it is possibly a competition based thing with Universal. But California definitely being a creative place, Jinjin. Me being from the Central Valley, you see the beautiful sunsets. You have just nature in abundance. California. That's why you can do an attraction like Soaring Over California, and you get so many different areas that are unlike any other. Versus Florida, it's flat across the board, and then it's a swamp.
Then it's a swamp. That's right. Enchanted Tiki Room says, how can someone with only 16 months of experience at Disney lead one of the most pivotal and creative arms of the company? Sounds like a corporate move, not a creative one. We will see. I'm always hesitant to jump on the bandwagon of, trashing somebody before they get an opportunity to show what they can do. And it's certainly something where I think we're in a place where there's a lot of movement happening at the top of the organization right now. I feel like we're being set up for the next phase of what Disney's going to be. The next era is the best way I can put it. And I think that that's what we're about to see is they are realigning the ships, realigning the chess pieces, and we will see what happens moving forward after this because no doubt that is coming. No doubt there is about to be a seismic shift in the way that the business is done. And yeah, you're stating a true fact here, Tiki Room. Only 16 months of experience at Disney. So
Yeah.
this is going to be a sink or swim thing. I'm holding to that.
Yeah, 16 months is not very long when it comes to Disney, where you have people that have been there for decades and they're still doing the same thing because they love it so much. As we said earlier, you can hope that it will be a renaissance of sorts, where you have maybe a new form of inspiration being out here. If it is a corporate move, then I would say don't be surprised when you hear that instead of there being new attractions, that you'd rather that there will actually be just maybe enhancements where you have a new lighting package or maybe a new few projections. If it is corporate and it comes down to money, they will try and do bare minimum to get the most bang for their buck. And it's sad to hear. Luckily, we have many projects in the works that will still take several years to come about that look absolutely breathtaking, such as the Guardians coaster, the new Moana area at Epcot. Those areas are coming and they look amazing from the concept art we've seen. So hopefully those keep going. But if you look 5-6 years down the line, it is questionable because we were going to have a Mary Poppins attraction, but that seemed to have disappeared out of nowhere. That probably has to do with a little bit on the corporate side. So all we can do at this point is have faith that the move that they're doing is a right one, but we really will not know until we start seeing it happen. But I really hope nothing bad happens because Imagineering that I wanted to be an Imagineer at one point and I wanted to create these amazing things, but if now they're being sort of held down by the corporate arm saying you don't get to do what you used to do, it will be a sad thing to see.
That's for dang sure. And I know that there's an awful lot of repositioning of individuals in the company for the sake of who's going to lead things into the future, all with Bob Chapek as the face of that. Now knowing that we also have, between the new moves between Bob Weiss as well as Barbara Bauza taking over as president, we also, as mentioned earlier in the broadcast, have Susan Arnold taking over as chairman after Bob Iger's departure. So there is going to be, it sounds like a check and balance to what's going on at the top of the Disney hierarchy. So we'll see what happens as we march forward. Hey, another big news, and it's sad that this is big news, but it's big news, and that is, ladies and gentlemen, that Disney World has announced the trams are returning to Magic Kingdom.
Woo!
This month. I know. ClickOrlando.com is reporting that Walt Disney World announced on Thursday night that parking trams will be rolling back into theme park parking lots very soon. Disney said on social media that the trams would be returning first to the Magic Kingdom's parking lot later this month. The other parks would see the popular form of transportation return sometime next year. Walt Disney World's parking trams have been suspended since the parks were forced to close in 2020, forcing guests to walk a short distance to the front entrances. According to Disney's website, face coverings are required of all guests on Disney transportation, including Disney buses, monorails, and the Disney Skyliner. Gared, you won't have to walk your sorry butt to the park anymore.
I really like those extra steps. I personally, I've never had the issue because sometimes I think my walking was faster than the trams in some circumstances where I would get up and start walking and then the tram's already left. So I'm like, I'm not going to just stand here for 5 minutes when I could just walk there. But for those that maybe like aren't as able-bodied or want to take the tram, this is very exciting. The trams add a personality. Like you see the pictures, they're colorful, they're bright things. You hear the announcement, "Welcome aboard the Epcot tram system. We're going to be heading down to the front of the park." It's the start of your story at the theme parks, especially at a place like the TTC. Having trams there is a much needed thing because you are already over 3 miles away from the park entrance because you have to go across a lake. But to go from the back of the parking lot to the TTC to hop on a monorail or a boat, that's already a trek. You're already winded and sweating at 7 a.m. So these trams coming back are going to be much enjoyed. I have no doubt people will be cheering and clapping when they get on and off these things because the parking and tram team, they are a special group. They do their darndest. Like you always know where they're like, "All right, we're gonna go, driver, beep beep." Like it's just it gets wired into your head. It's just like the monorail spiel. The tram spiel is gonna get in your head, and I'm happy to see it. Like I'm team teal tram all the way. Teal tram
Team Teal?
Yeah, team teal is always the one. I like it. It's not quite the arrogant solid blue, but it's not quite a white. It's just it's a nice soft color that gets your day going.
That's great. Yep, trams on their way back. We know that out at Disneyland, they also announced that trams would be returning early 2022, whatever that means, but they are on their way back. Interesting that they're starting with Magic Kingdom and then saying at some point in 2022, the rest of the trams are coming back for Walt Disney World.
I don't even know why they went down in the first place. No, we never got a clear answer whether it was repair issues or just maybe it was a labor shortage. Like, hey, we just don't have the parking people. I really do not know what it is. Granted, when you pull up to the parks, the only parking lot that really is packed is Magic Kingdoms and Epcot's. It's hit or miss with Hollywood Studios. I've always noticed in the past few months since it's reopened has been half full, so that's not as bad. And the Skyliner definitely changes everything.
Yeah,
but it's good. Yeah, it's good to see that the trams are back, and I'm pumped. They're cool little machines. They get you where you need to go, and especially if there's a large group of you and not everyone can walk because you got little ones. Boom! It's a perfect solution to get you to the front of the park.
And I want to know, it's time to talk back. Now that the trams are returning to Walt Disney World, what else are you still waiting to see make a comeback? Let us know in the comments section. Are there things that are still out there that you have not seen return, that you are just yearning for, whether it be Disneyland, Walt Disney World? Is there anything still missing that you really want to see back in action? Certainly, we have watched as Disney has ramped up in the last 6 months in particular, all kinds of offerings across the board, all kinds of things have returned back into the mix of the Disney parks, from entertainment to dining to attractions even. A lot of things have been slowly coming back online, but we definitely want to know from you, when it comes down to it, are there still things out there that you're waiting to see return? And are there any things that, any particular things out there that haven't returned that make you wonder, why is that still gone? We'd be interested in hearing your perspective.
I'm personally still wondering when the Magic Kingdom Railroad is coming back. That's been gone for like 4 years. That's the one thing I want back. The tram, like, would you rather have trams or the railroad? I feel like that should be like the toss up. And I'm sorry, like, I'm going to go with the railroad because it's such a iconic part of Magic Kingdom. But
it's because of Tron. It's because of construction.
It's all Tron's fault, man. Like, it's supposed to be a computer system, but it's built in real life. It makes no sense whatsoever.
Always blame Tron. It's the easiest way out. Well,
Yeah.
let us know what you want to see back now that the trams are finally returning. Perhaps something that should have happened a long time ago is finally occurring now. We're going to take a look at your comments right after this. I think we all secretly heart Danny after that. Disney News Talk Live.
Danny's the guy. He's the guy.
He's the guy. He's the guy with the horn. Bless him. Yeah, he nails it every time. We love you, Danny. Great job out there, Dickens Yuletide Band at Disneyland. Friends, we asked you just before the break when it comes down to Walt Disney World, bringing back the trams and, finally having Magic Kingdom tram service reinstated after all this time this month and bringing back trams to the other parks going into next year. Are there any other things still left that you would like to see return to Walt Disney World or Disneyland? Thomas, he shares with us that the tram makes sense for the Magic Kingdom. Certainly one of the biggest parking lots, right? You can park all of Disneyland in their parking lot.
You can actually fit Magic Kingdom inside of Magic Kingdom's parking lot. It's bigger than the actual park.
It's gigantic.
I think the trams definitely make sense. Good job, Mr. Thomas.
You know what? And after they tore out a couple years ago the Speedway, remember the old Speedway, the Motor Speedway?
Oh yes.
Richard Petty driving experience?
Yeah, I never got to do that. I saw it get destroyed, but I never actually got to do it.
I always wondered what that would have been like. It seems like something that, everybody's dad would absolutely fall head over heels in love with and know to be able to do. But I also felt like a lot of people didn't know it existed. So people would drive by it on the way out of Magic Kingdom parking lot all the time and go, what is that over there? What's going on? What is that? So very cool. Thank you, Thomas, for sharing. Adventures in the Park says, I walk 8 to 10 miles on every visit to Disneyland. What's another mile to the Mickey and Friends parking structure? Well, bless you, Adventures, for sharing your ability to walk for very long periods of time, being very much in line with not only exercise, but good health. That's fantastic. We appreciate it. And yes, certainly Mickey and Friends parking structure is a place that I tend to walk from a lot just because when the trams were in service, I didn't want to wait. So I would take that little walk from the structure itself to the main entrance of the Disneyland Resort. But I know that for a lot of people, especially at the end of a very long day, that can be quite taxing. Alaska says, thanks, Gared and Wade. This is such a broad spectrum of topics. You are welcome. We try and cover a lot of things when we do Disney News Talk. It's not just Disney Park specific. There's a lot going on in the company, and I think that it's really important that we touch on various stories, especially ones that will no doubt have an impact on what we do encounter in the Disney parks. How about that from Alaska, Gared? Very nice.
Yeah, it's very nice indeed.
So kind. Anne says, Fantasmic won't book our trip from Australia until it returns.
Don't do it.
Don't even do it.
Hey, Fantasmic is a great show. I don't know if you're referring to Disney World or Disneyland. Disneyland is better. But no, if you're all the way from down under, definitely take your time and come back when Fantasmic is back, because like that's the beauty of going to the Disney parks. You love these shows, and like if it's not a complete vacation until you've experienced these shows. For me, for the longest time, it was, Illuminations. Like you can't experience that. No, why go to Epcot?
Very true. Yeah, Fantasmic is one of those deal breakers for a lot of people. I know Disneyland side, they've been working on the stage platforms under the water here in the last couple of weeks, and we've been following that in our in-park updates where it seems like week to week a different platform gets focused on, and so they are slowly starting to rise that up from the depths, literally, in order to get things reinstalled and corrected and fixed for the sake of a 2022 return. And we did hear at Destination D23 that Fantasmic is returning on both coasts, so you are in luck. It's coming back not only to the amphitheater at Disney's Hollywood Studios that was built for it, which I will say is the only really substantially nice thing about the Hollywood Studios version is that you have an amphitheater created for it.
What, you don't think the dragon is all that impressive? The crane neck that pops out of a mountain? You don't think that's and how like when certain fireworks go off you can actually see it? No.
That's a real wow factor.
Yeah, the seating there is amazing, and like it's nice to have everything sort of right in front of you, because around the Rivers of America at Disneyland, it can sometimes be very cramped, especially when you have cast members saying like keep moving, and you're trying to like sneak in a spot.
Yeah.
And it's a rough area unless you have some sort of dining package or dessert package. But the especially after they've redone it, the Disneyland Fantasmic show, the quality is just amazing, especially with how the new lighting, and especially Sorcerer Mickey out there. Like I'm just in awe of it. And now they have Pirates of the Caribbean instead of Peter Pan. I could go on.
You could. And does clarify saying Disneyland is where we will visit. I have very happy memories there. It will be my kids' first Disney park ever. Well, way to start out with the best, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I may be the Disney World reporter, but Disneyland has my heart, and it feels different than Disney World. Disneyland, you can feel Walt's magic if you believe in that, and it just like you walk in and you're like, man, I feel like I'm in a nice, happy place, not some corporate structure, so to speak.
It is indeed a different environment, that is for sure. Adventure says, yeah, bring back Fast Pass and forget about the other thing.
What, you don't like the lightning lane?
It seems so popular. I don't know. Everybody seems to be really into it, but yeah, I get it. Adventures. It's going to take some getting used to, and certainly whenever Disneyland starts to roll it out, as mentioned a little bit earlier, no official date yet, just before the end of fall. I say late fall is when they're going to be doing it, so they are running out of time, just a few weeks away. There's still infrastructure that they need to lay for this baby, so there's still signage, there are still things that need to be put up for the sake of this being rolled out. So I don't know, we're getting down to the wire, so we will see what happens. Maybe Disneyland is hoping everybody will forget.
Yeah, maybe because Disney fans are great at forgetting things.
Well, I mean, in this case, perhaps it will be a positive. We'll definitely see. And Sean says, I would love to see a reimagining of Adventure Through Inner Space with modern technology.
That's old school right there, Sean. I like that idea.
Yeah.
I'm down for that.
There is an empty building in Tomorrowland at Magic Kingdom that used to house Stitch and his whole attraction. Perhaps there's room for reimagined Adventure Through Inner Space attraction.
No, there's definite room. You just Like if you need to, you can take out the Merchant of Venus and then the little ice cream,
Anti-gravities.
yeah, and anti-gravities, and you can definitely make this whole thing work. Like there's room in that Tomorrowland to make it all work. And with at the time when Adventures Through Inner Space came out, it was just eye-opening and be like, man, we can actually do something like this. And with modern tech, it would be even more incredible.
Oh, the things that could be done, that's for sure. Jen says, I wonder if kids will ever get to give their favorite characters hugs again and get autographs when that will be deemed safe to do so. That's still missing from the experience for them. Jen, absolutely. It's something that
Yes.
I see repeatedly at the parks. It's a very hard thing for
Mhm.
not just the kids, but their parents that sort of anticipated that they were going to have that experience that they got as children too. It's a hard thing to watch
Yeah.
because I've experienced, Gared, this happen not only when characters are leaving sort of their generalized
Mhm.
safe zone where they stand at a distance and wave,
Yeah.
but also in character dining that has recently
Oh,
returned.
yeah.
I've watched as kids have run up to these characters as they're trying to leave the area, and there's basically an access route, and these kids run right up to them, and the poor cast members that help guide the characters
Mhm.
basically are like Secret Service and jump in front
Oh,
of these
oh,
children.
it's like watching football and someone's going after them, and then they get tackled by like a cast member. Like you see a little 3-year-old going after to hug Mickey, and then like some 47-year-old guy just broadsides them. Yeah. I'm in addition to the guests that want to hug him, I'm sure the performers and characters, they want to hug and share those moments coming from entertainment. I know directly what you're talking about, Jinjin. So I really hope the hugs and the kisses and the storytelling through real meet and greets, not the distance ones. I hope that comes back because that is it makes Disney stand apart from all the other ones. Because like sure you can high five Captain America at Islands of Adventure, but being able to hug Mickey Mouse and have him do a card trick for you, it's surreal.
And I'll tell you, I was able to stop by the exhibition hall at Magic Kingdom this past week to see Mickey and have that one-on-one time once again. We do have it up on the Kingdom Report live Instagram as well as our Facebook stories. So something to check out, ladies and gentlemen, if you haven't seen it for yourself, what it's like to now have a meet and greet experience with Mickey again. It's the first sort of real attempt that they are doing at Magic Kingdom since things are slowly returning to normal. And you now have the opportunity to get at least a little bit closer to Mickey and have one-on-one time. He's not going to be standing at a distance, 60 yards away, and you just have to yell at him, and hopefully he poses with, you in the foreground of your shot and him in the background. Now you get one-on-one time the way it used to be. Yes, there is a stanchion between you and Mickey, and he's about 5 to 6 feet away, but it's still that one-on-one time. The little girl that was in front of me when I went into the exhibition hall was overjoyed with, and the parents, oh my God, mom was bawling because, that moment is back where a child gets to meet Mickey for the first time. She was jumping up and down. She was so excited because there he was, and it was directly attention placed on her. In addition to that, also the Princess Fairy Tale Hall at Magic Kingdom, doing much the same thing with Cinderella, with Rapunzel, with visiting princesses. I saw that also posted on the marquee, of visiting princess. So that could be anybody. Tiana, Princess Tiana, also in there. So much the same setup, but now that personalized time is finally back in Magic Kingdom, and hopefully we'll see that personalized time return to a certain degree out at Disneyland here in the near future.
Yeah, I'm just hoping bring back Gaston meet and greets and get rid of everyone else, and I'm happy. Like Gaston,
That's all you need.
Gaston is all I need, man.
All you need in your life. And Lori Jean says Disneyland's Dragon is better.
It is indeed.
Here, here.
Because it's an actual audio animatronic and not a crane.
Yep. When it comes to Phantasmic, that Disneyland Dragon is spectacular. When it works well. That's for sure. Thank you, Lori Jean. We'll finish it out here with Adventures. He says, I have one more wish. Tear down Paradise Pier Hotel and build the Tron coaster in Anaheim.
I like the Tron idea.
I do too. I think that that hotel is going to reflect eventually what gets built around it, because the Disneyland Forward project that Anaheim and Disneyland are sort of agreeing to with that next edition, that next era of the Disneyland Resort, where it's going to expand, how it's going to grow. All of the concept art shows that essentially theme parks will expand out into what is now the Simba parking lot, or I guess the Downtown Disney parking lot, as it's often referred to now. So the theme park will expand out and around and sort of wrap the entire perimeter of the Paradise Pier Hotel. And at this point, you know, the pier is completely out of theme to begin with, because
Paradise Pier no longer exists.
There's Paradise Gardens and there's a Pixar Pier, but there's no Paradise Pier anymore. So we will see what happens when it comes to that hotel getting a retheme. I'm looking forward to whatever it starts to reflect based on what they build in that direction, because that's the direction they're going.
Yeah, it will be a great spot to be if you're staying when everything is built around it, because you'll feel like you're in the theme parks, because that's one reason why guests love staying at the Grand Californian, because you can have a room that overlooks into California Adventure, and it is a great view to have. You can see World of Color, you can see the attractions going on. So it'll be interesting to see. You can build the Tron coaster. I think there's room. Pretty much where Star Wars Launch Bay used to be, kind of is. That building could fit Tron, and then you'd have to kind of go on to the road right behind it. But Disney can make things work. They'll figure out something, or you tear out the submarines and build there, because that area's always been an area of question. I can't fit into it. Wade, I can't fit into the submarines. I'm too tall now.
Well, that's too bad. You'll have to watch videos of it online. Our poor Gared. And Timothy says, is Tron going to finish being built in Walt Disney World? You know, they were still working on it while I was out there last week. They're putting in that new the lid over the track, the rooftop over the track, I guess we could call it. It's looking good. Still no specific date. Destination D23 Josh tomorrow said coming soon. On its way. So hoping to see that back.
2023 is my guess. It took them like 5 years to build it in Shanghai, so hopefully it won't take that long out at Disney World. Granted, that area used to be a lake, and they filled it in and now building it. But yeah, there's still some work to be done. I think interior-wise, the track is laid, but they still need to add the bells and whistles and all the things that make it actually Tron rather than just some steel track coaster.
And then bring back the train.
Bring back the train. Bring back the road. Not as good as Disneyland, but trains are cool.
But that'll do, yes. And we want to remind all of you that if you need yourself a little bit of a cup of cheer, we also have that in store for anybody that might be watching between now and Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. If you leave the comment underneath this video, as soon as the live video is over, you're able to leave a comment underneath this very video on our YouTube channel, and it only happens on our YouTube channel. Leave the comment Christmas cheer underneath this very video between now and Monday morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time, and you will be entered to potentially win yourself your very own Kingdom Report Live mug. All you got to do is leave that phrase that pays, and you might just get yourself your very own mug. You'll be added to the list of individuals that have been able to fill their mug with a cup of cheer and celebrate the holiday season with all of us. Christmas cheer is the phrase that pays. Gared, before we get out of here, any closing notes, any thoughts, perspective on the holiday season, any Disney thoughts floating around in your mind?
I always have Disney thoughts going on around my mind. One, I hope that the things around Imagineering go well, because I've watched the Imagineering story on Disney Plus like 5 times, and every time I cry in it, probably every episode I shed a tear, whether it's Walt's passing or Bob Iger opening Shanghai, similar to how Walt opened Disneyland. But no, just happy holidays to everyone. I hope you all are having a very festive season, and that you just have a very merry one, and that everything goes well for you and your families. Disney-wise, hey, things can only go up from where they were last April, which is there was nothing. So I remain optimistic.
Let's forget the last year.
Yeah. Like we're still in the sort of rebuilding phase, so I can only imagine that 2022, 2023 things will get stronger and stronger and stronger, and then the parks will be back to normal again. Once Fantasmic's back, then the world can begin. Then the world has finished the healing process, so to speak. They brought back Beauty and the Beast, and well, that's okay. But we want Fantasmic.
That's it's a good point. Only then will the Disney Parks world heal. That's for sure. So, Richard, thank you for a great show and for contributing this week. Lori Jean, thank you. Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
It's been a lot of fun, as always. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are a Disney Parks fan and happen to have a few friends that also are into the Disney Parks, then we want you to share the broadcast, let them know that this type of program is out there, and that the more the merrier. We're always looking for more to add to the Disney Parks family, the Disney Parks critical eye, as we often are here at the Kingdom Report. We love the theme parks. We connect you to more of what makes you happy, but we are also a place for trusted theme park perspective. On behalf of Gared, Hassel, and myself, we want to wish you a wonderful week ahead, a very happy holiday season, and we will be back with you next Saturday for an all-new edition of this little thing called Disney News Talk Live. See you soon.
Happy holidays, everyone.